Rotterdam. Well, we are standing here on top of the Grote Handelsgebouw, which is an original 1950 building. And on this building we are showing the benefits of a green roof program we have in Rotterdam. So we have, everywhere you can see, we're showing different kind of plants that are suitable to have on a green roof. And this green roof program aims to store the rainwater temporarily, and just to solve the problem of rainwater in the city. Yeah. And well, on the back you can see the new central station, the roof of the central station, and part of this roof will also will be used for electricity. So yeah. Well, Rotterdam is not a traditional Dutch town. The city center or historical city center has been completely destroyed during the Second World War, and the city has been rebuilt after the Second World War. And they choose to have a modern, functional city. So there's a sharp separation between the residential areas and the offices, the shopping area. And we still have problems with that because you can see the city. Some parts of the city are empty or dead at night. Nobody lives here. And well, the main strategy for Rotterdam is to get more people to the center, to create more density, to get more livable city. So that's why we are also investing in public space and making the city more convenient for the residents to live in. Also to attract the middle and high income groups back to the city. So that's in short our city strategy. And Rotterdam relies very much on port activities, but the port, which used to be very much connected to the city, moved slowly to the west. So now we have a very large port outside of the city, well, let's say boundaries. So city and port are not that much connected anymore as it used to be. And a lot of people who are living in Rotterdam are not working anymore in the port area, but are working everywhere in the metropolitan area of Rotterdam, The Hague, or in Amsterdam. And that's why there's not a natural economic base for people to live here. So Rotterdam is also investing in new kind of industries and economies to develop a strong economy here in the city. For example, water management. Water management is one of the features we're trying to develop. Clean Tech Delta, and that's why Rotterdam also really promotes to be climate-proof city.
Yes.
Yeah. We need a lot of space to store rainwater in the city to avoid problems in our streets. But as you can see, well, in the city there's not that much space to keep this rainwater in place, and it would cost an enormous lot of money to invest in a sewerage system or in, well, let's say, structural measures to get rid of this one. So that's one problem. Another problem is that we have quite a lot of area of the city which is not protected by the primary water defense. So this area is open to the sea and also has a small risk for flooding. Well, this risk is quite small in this moment compared to other delta cities, but well, climate change also let the sea level rise more extreme. Well, here you can see a very sharp differentiation between old city and the new city. So the historical city center has been demolished during the Second World War. And here one of the singles we have in Rotterdam. Single means a waterway, and it's been a very interesting plan from the 19th century. There they said we had to improve the water quality of the city, so they dug some of these canals. It also made them in that way that people wanted to live along these canals. So they combined different goals: better water in the city, creating an environment to attract people who want to invest in the city, and also a recreational area for the city. So in that time they already combined different purposes, and that's, well, in short, also our main strategy of combining water management, water problems with developing a more attractive city. So this lower part of the single is designed that it can flood in case of a heavy storm surge, and we have a lot of rainwater in the city, so we have then more space for rainwater and it doesn't cause any other problems. So once every couple of years you can expect some water here on the quay. So here we have a parking garage which has been opened this year, and it's been combined with water storage. So a section of this parking garage is able to collect a huge lot of storm water, rainwater, and also part of the sewage system of the center of Rotterdam. So when it's raining really hard and the sewage system is not capable to pump it away, it will be collected here in the parking garage, stored temporarily, and then pumped back to the storage system. So it's really a matter of water quality and also, well, rainwater problems, and and it's functioning, so it's working, so that's good. Here you can see the Westzeedijk, which is one of the primary water dikes, water defense lines in the Netherlands. You can see this dike is really gigantic, very big. It's been designed for a flood event, or to stop a flood event which might occur one every 10,000 years. And it protects almost the whole of the Randstad metropolitan area. So this dike really should be very heavy to protect this whole area which is behind it. But we have this very massive and large dike right through our city center. So one of our tasks and challenges is how to integrate the dike with our urban area, urban fabric. So, well, there are some solutions for it, but you can imagine that also water boards are not really eager to have others playing with their dike. So there's a distinction between the area which is inside of the dikes. People are protected with this dike, so there are no special regulations or building regulations. The area outside of the dike has a small risk of flood because of well, the seawater can come in up there. And we are now working on creating building regulations for building outside this area outside of the dikes. Until now we didn't have these regulations, but we believe it's better to adapt the well, existing structure of the city to well, the small risk of having water there. Here's a small portion of the area in Rotterdam which is not protected by the dike. So this is part of the historical port area. So this area can have a little bit of water on the quays, maybe in a chance of 1 to 100 or 1 to 1,000. Most of these historical buildings are a little bit adapt to this situation, so most of the entrances are being elevated, or they had small measures in the facade of this building. But since we have a flexible barrier at the sea gate, most of these techniques has been lost. So when we are now building in this kind of areas, most of the time we are just raising up the surface and just building a traditional building block. So on this moment this area is not really vulnerable for high water, but since sea level is rising, we are expecting to have a higher chance of water risk. And we are now developing a strategy where we are trying to make small local measures, like some adaptation to the buildings or maybe small walls in the public space, to to bring this risk back to well, the situation we had or we have on this moment. We are now working with a bandwidth of 35 centimeters till 85 at 2100. So that's what we're working with, but also people were saying it might even getting worse. So we are working with this bandwidth, but also keeping in our mind that we have to create a strategy which is robust to well, different kind of outcomes. On this moment we're trying to design a strategy where we focus on both strategies. One, giving the people incentives and tools and techniques to protect their property better. And at the other hand, keeping enough space in your public area to raise the surface or to make small walls or retaining walls. So we are trying to develop both strategies at the same time, that when sea levels really rising much more than we expected, then we also can choose what kind of strategy is the best. Yeah, we are working very close together, planning department, also water management department, and we are working also on national scale together with the national government to develop a water strategy for the whole delta area. And all these kind of levels are combined. So what we do on a local scale is also affecting the scenarios or the strategies at a regional scale. So we're working together in this area. At this moment, the national we are here in a tradition where the national government is really responsible for water management and also paying for it. So the national government, the taxpayer, is paying for the primary water system and everything which is important for water management. But we are working to a situation where we are sharing this responsibility much more with house owners and private developers. So that means that also other parties like well, house owners or developers have to pay a little bit for making this area more safe. Which is one of the lowest parts of the residential part of the city. So these caves over here, they are flooded maybe one every year, once every 2 years. The people who are living here are most of the time aware of the fact that they are living with the water. But still, the last 10 or 20 years it never happened that they had really damage of high water. So people are really trusting the government that well, the problem will be solved. So one of our first strategies is just to inform the people that they still living in an area with a small risk of high water and damage. So people can make small arrangements for that. Well, the people who live in this island are a mixture of well, middle class, high income groups, especially people living at the edges of the island. The historical buildings are most of them privately owned and well, are expensive, but the rest of the island, especially the part at the center, are most of the time social housing, and we expect that people who live there are not really aware of the fact that they are living in a not protected area and also well, have to live with a certain risk of floods. So it's really important to find out a communication strategy that reaches also the house owners, but also people who are renting houses and maybe are not speaking the language enough or have a cultural background that they are not well used to live with water. So here you see the Rijnhaven, which is one of the former port areas of the city. It's been slowly turned into a residential area, so all the high-rise at the sites. Also, we are thinking of turning this port water basin into a place where we also could build on. So here this floating pavilion is one of the first examples of what you could do with floating architecture. So this is now an expedition space. You can rent it for all kind of purposes, also for expositions, and it's one example of what you can do on the water. And next year there will be a large context for developers to come up with great ideas what we can do on this water level. So maybe within a couple of years you can see more of these examples on the water.
And now tell us what you honestly think about that.
Well, on this moment it's not always open, so it's not open to the public. So I believe this kind of expositions will also be open to the general public. So that's something we should change.
Yes.